Whitney is the absolute queen of... Oh, shit. My goodness me. She's like the original Elphaba.
When I'm racing with
This is like absolute architecture at its finest. Kia ora and welcome. My name's Omishibi and I'm your vocal coach because we have the absolute pleasure of taking a look at Whitney Houston. One moment in time. I've actually never seen this particular performance, but one of my singing students said to me, Zoe, you have to look at this because it was what we were working on with our singing lesson, of this idea of using a plie or going down to engage the muscles in order to sing higher in the range. So we're going to be looking at what is Whitney up with her vocal technique, how is she creating these sounds, and how can you create them so that you can become the best singer possible. If you want to learn more about your favorite artist vocal technique, then hit the subscribe button so we can hang out more often. Anyway, without further ado, I'm nervous. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna take these rubber bands out. I can barely open my mouth, and I know some belting is coming.
each day I live, I want to be a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone.
Okay, we have to have a little look at that as well. You can really hear a thinner vocal fold quality. We've got a little bit of breath coming through the sound. Let's go back on that. Lots of thyroid tilt, which is where the thyroid cartilage, which is here where the vocal folds live, tilts forward to allow the vocal folds to lengthen.
Each day I live, I want to be.
So look at that. Each day I live. So she was going, each day I live, thin vocal folds with a little bit of an opening to allow that breath to come through. And then she closes them for that second phrase.
I want to be.
I want to. A little bit of twang, but we've still got quite a thin vocal fold quality.
A day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone. My finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart.
Whitney is the absolute queen of building a song, of starting, I know my heart. Got that thinner vocal folds with just a little bit of that opening again. Because we know that she can create these huge moments, but this is where she leaves us like wanting more from her. And that honestly is a gift for singers. We want to be able to do that to our audience.
But not alone. My finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart.
You can really hear that thyroid tone. I broke my heart. So to feel like she's putting her whole energy into the sound in terms of the cry. And that is so important. That's what I tell my singers all the time. Keep on moaning at us. We want to feel that pain, that sorrow, but also the happiness, the excitement in the sound, because that thyroid tilt is the main difference between speaking and singing.
Every game to taste the sweet. Oh, I face the pain. I rise and fall. Yet through it all, this much remains. I want one moment in time.
Wow. Okay, so when she's going lower down into those lower notes, so there's a, what are the words? I've never sung the song before, so I actually do not know it. This much remains. We're on the E flat 4 there, which is above the middle C. This much remains. So she's almost like driven the sound down there, but we're hearing the difference that larynx height makes to the tone. She's taken the larynx back down for those lower notes. This much remains, how did I know? So we've got this lighter sound there. She's allowing the larynx then to raise, which it needs to do for the pitch. You can hear it all. Higher larynx position, thinner vocal fold.
This much remains. I want one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be.
There's a perfect example. One moment in time. We've got thicker vocal folds. We're in a speech quality, so that means thicker vocal folds with a little bit more of a vertical larynx. So we're not going one moment in time. Doesn't sound incredibly sung at this section. She will, I'm assuming, later on. But what that's doing is it's allowing the thickness of the vocal folds and the space that she's created in the throat to make that resonance and to create that volume, rather than going one moment in time, which is what might happen if she was to push the larynx down. We don't always want to drive the particular dark or the color of the sound with the larynx position. We've got to watch that phrase again, because I want you to notice he goes one moment in time when and the quality changed there.
When all of my dreams are a heartbeat away.
Do you hear? When all of my dreams are a heartbeat away, I think. So we've got that glottal onset. We've also got thick vocal fold contact. She's just lifted the chin ever so slightly. Now, I know there's a lot of discourse about, lifting the chin. What that's actually happening is it is a way for us to stop the larynx from tilting too far forward. It can also be a sign of tongue root tension, but with Whitney, I would say it's also like looking up to the crowd. Well, all of my dreams are a heartbeat away. She's gone into that higher chest voice sound there.
And the answers are all up to me. One moment in time when I'm racing with destiny. Hey.
And then we've got the belt coming in. Hey! The cricoid has been tilted. I want to go back on this moment though, because I want you to notice the acoustic change in the sound. This is a really great piece, or a great video and recording, whatever we want to call it, to hear the way in which she's come right back off the volume to go lower in the range. Because as we're going lower in the range with those thicker vocal folds, she doesn't need to drive the sound quite so much. So we got this one moment in. I think we're done here. One moment in time. We're low in the chest voice register, so that the vocal folds are thick. She doesn't need to push for the volume, but this is, Whitney was the epitome of really great vocal technique in these moments. We can learn so much from her.
When I'm racing with
You can hear that little hiccup in the pitch there. We saw that the tongue was hollowing a destiny. So we've got that duh, and what's happening is with the hollowing out of the tongue, we're just giving the larynx a little bit of the tongue there. Now, I don't recommend this to anyone who's learning to sing. This is a very advanced vocal technique where we first need to build up the muscles of the tongue before we start looking at how we're going to use the tongue in terms of our belt. But we've got the cricot tone, destiny, and then she goes back away from that belt again. I think there was just that one note that was belted. And this is a perfect example of how belt is really sprinkled throughout songs, and not that we're singing huge swathes and huge phrases of a song in a belt quality. We'll talk about like what belt is, how it's created. Like, I'm sure she'll go into more belting stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't even know if I mean, going from that open vowel into the closed vowel, and you could hear it was all in the same sort of placement. I don't talk a lot about the placement of the voice, but because we don't know about the placement because that's only in her body. But what we're hearing is we're not hearing a change in the timbre of the sound. And that's really important. Let's watch. It's like there's one, my singing teacher always used to say, it's like a silk scarf coming out of there. I don't even know the words. So, and see, even like I am not pretending like I am the singer of Whitney Houston, and this takes time to get into the voice. But can you even hear in someone like myself? And I practice a lot. I do a lot of vocal technique work. I'm a singing teacher. I'm full-time singing teacher. What happens in my throat is the E wants to go to a smaller vowel, and so we need to make sure that we're working to keep that throat wide, bring the tongue forward. And in that one moment of time, so that we're not allowing and allowing that natural change to occur between the A to the E. And that is what vocal technique essentially means. And that's what singing lessons will do, will be to, make sure that you're learning how can you do that? How do you work that into your vocal technique? If you're wanting to learn how to improve your vocal technique, improve your sound, and make sense of these vocal techniques, then you can apply for singing lessons down the description below. I have to stop at the same point because I've got to just show you again the tongue rolling back. And in that one moment of time, let's just do that again. Did you see that? And in that, I'm well aware that my throat's going a little bit closed there, not pretending like I can sing like Whitney Houston, not pretending like I'm her at all. I'm just trying to show you what it would sound like in my voice. And what often happens in singers' voices when we're changing vowels. You can see her tongue rolling forward there to get out of the way, to allow the space here at the back of the throat.
I will feel eternity.
We saw that I will feel eternity. She brought the lips forward, and I'm not making fun of Whitney in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to show you what that does. And sometimes I exaggerate a little bit in my in the way that I'm showing you. She just brought the lips very gently forward. Now, bringing lips forward is going to darken the tone because we're elongating the vocal tract, and the vocal tract actually goes all the way from the end of the lips down to the vocal folds. I will feel eternity. So whenever we're making something longer, we're going to be making the tone darker.
I've lived to be the very best. I want it all, no time for less. I've laid the plans, now lay the chance here in my hands. Give me one moment in time.
This is a perfect example of, and I feel like I've just been saying this like so much in this video, but we saw just very gently, she's bringing the lower jaw or the jaw a little bit further forward. Sometimes that can help in order to create space here at the back of the throat. Again, it's not something that I'd encourage like beginner singers to just go, I'm going to shove the jaw forward. It's in very specific moments with very specific singers to see if this is something that works. So we can see that just because we're in this really beautiful profile version.
I want it all, no time for less. I've laid the plans, now lay the chance.
It's just ever so slightly there, but what I'm also noticing is that we've got a relatively, I use the word relaxed really loosely when it comes to singing. It's not tensing, it's not clenching. She's keeping that jaw open. She's keeping this muscle disengaged. But we've got really great articulation. I mean, obviously, because we can understand every word that she's saying.
For less, I've laid the plans, now lay the chance here in my hands. Give me one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be. When all of my dreams are a heartbeat away.
Oh, she's such a fantastic singer. So we've got that when all of my dreams are a heartbeat away. We've got that often what happens, and it could have been a little bit flat, but look, in a situation like Whitney Houston, we're also just going to go, maybe that's her decision. You know, where you're sitting within the tuning. If a singer decides, you hear this, for example, quite a lot with Alicia Keys, sounds ever so slightly flat, but maybe they prefer that darker timbre. So while I do encourage singers to work with a system like Sing and See, I'll put a link in the description below, which is a way that you can pitch monitoring software. If it is in tune, but maybe someone says, oh, it just sounds a little bit flat. This could be, firstly, due to the tongue position, but it could also be just a stylistic thing that they've decided. Usually this happens, but all of my dreams, when we've allowed the tongue to drop down a little bit too far on the
In my hands, give me one moment in time.
I really like the. So give me, she hasn't taken the larynx lower than it needs to go. So that give me one moment in time. Because if we were to really dig the larynx and give me, then she would need to make that change for one moment. So it makes it much easier if we keep the larynx in a similar position. Now, the larynx does move for pitch, so it does need to go down low, but we're not excessively lowering it to darken the pitch even more.
When I'm more than I thought I could be. When all of my dreams are a heartbeat away, and the answers are all up to me. Give me one moment in time.
I'm probably going to get a little bit of stick for this comment, but I think this song is very similar throughout the whole thing. You're sort of singing like one moment in time. So you're sort of doodling around that same set of notes. Now, when you are in this lower section of the chest voice, and as I said before, when she's not over lowering to really like dig in to darken that sound, it is going to sound relatively similar because of the timbre. She's not doing crazy things with her mouth. She's just singing it kind of what we maybe call straight. One moment in time. Resonant, thick vocal folds in that lower section of the chest voice register. She doesn't need to do much more because it is in this really easy part of her range.
When I'm racing with destiny,
love these old recordings because they have less shit going on behind the scenes in terms of like all of these like volume regulations and stuff like that. And I'm well aware that they started a long time ago, but there's just less. There's less than there is today. So we've got we heard this slightly lower back vowel, as she went into that belt.
I'm racing with destiny.
Destiny. So we had a vowel modification for destiny. And she was darkening that tone a little bit. Now, I think that wasn't quite sitting on the belt there, but it could have been. Let's just have a little look at that again. So I think it might have been a higher chest voice sound, and the lowering of the tongue was a way to bring in more vocal fold mass. Whereas if she'd changed and tilted the cricoid, probably would have got that thickness. Okay, so this is a point where actually I would say as a vocal coach, I'm not 100% sure what she is doing in this moment, because it could be one of two things. It could be that she's taken the chest voice higher in the range, and what a lot of singers kind of complain about of saying like, it feels like I've taken the weight of the chest voice higher up in the range and the tongue has gone down for destiny. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Secondly, could have been that she's gone up for a belt. Destiny! But she's taken the tongue lower than planned, and that's what's caused that slight feeling of that to go in. Both of those can be what's going on in here. I don't feel like I'm hearing the brilliance of a belt going on, but that's something that I would then ask a singer to go, okay, how is this really feeling for you? And this is where it's really important to have a teacher that knows your voice really, really well, because that's something that they'll notice. They'll know when you're belting and they'll know when you're not. It's the hardest thing about doing these like one look at a particular performance, because I don't know Whitney's voice as well as I would love to do this type of analysis work. And there you go. That's not belt. So, and in that one moment of time, we've got that thicker vocal fold taken up, but we're not in a belt. The cricoid has not tilted back. We're not getting that thickness of the sound, because honestly, belt does not like to move that fast, and we don't like to say lots and lots of words on our belt. So we've got that lower tongue position, open vowel, keeping the sound moving and not allowing here in the vocal tract to change position for the vowel that she's singing, because that and in that's hard to go from the to the E.
I will feel, see, I will feel.
That's her belt.
See, I will feel eternity.
Did you hear that? Oh! So she went and then she came off at eternity. Back off the belt. We heard too much vibrato for it to be belt. We heard less vibrato coming into that section. I know this is like what the fuck, Zoe? Does it matter? Yes. Because this is the architecture of a song. Because if she was to go eternity, we'd have no color change in that song. But she's going eternity. Oh, with the straight tone there. So she's going belt, off belt, belt, off belt, belt, off belt. This is where we get the color change coming into the sound. If you were to belt with vibrato, we would hear a little bit of a faster belt, and we wouldn't get that darkening of the tone that we would want to get, which is not what we want to get. That's a choice that every singer can make, but she hasn't done that. So there, exactly. Did you hear that little bit of a wobble in the sound? And this is by no means to point out little holes in someone's performance. What I'm seeing though is, or what I'm hearing is that there was a mismatch in the vowel and the vocal color, and it wasn't clearly defined in that moment. That could be due to so many different things. There is no judgment whatsoever, but just wanted to show you the architecture of the vocal, of what vocal quality you're going to be in is extremely important when it comes to the whole song, but especially where we're going to need to change the quality of this upper section. What the I keep on moving the volume of this video, sorry.
See, I will feel eternity. You're a winner for a lifetime. If you seize that one moment in a time, make it shine with me.
This is architecture at its finest. Okay, this is like absolute architecture at its finest. And you can really hear then the voice starts to sing. Okay, she was singing before. We say as vocal coaches that there are certain parts of the voice where it just opens up and it sings the best. You can really hear there. She's gone into that section where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm at home.
You're a winner for a lifetime.
Bringing in the for a lifetime to keep that volume going through that section as she's going. So we're up on the B4. Oh, with you for a lifetime. She's going back down to that E flat there, 4. So as she's going down the range, she's introducing more of the twang, which is a closing of the area above the larynx, in order to keep the volume the same and the sound quality the same as she's coming back down, which we need to create inconsistent vocal changes, like in the architecture of the sound, to create a consistent tone. So let's just watch that again. Time! There we go. So we had our short, sharp, high breath. That's in order to build up a greater subglottic pressure here below the vocal folds, allows them to be thick. So time! She had belt and then she let off the belt and went into the vibrato. There we go. Make it shine! And then she vibrated. We're up on the D5 there. Shine! Adding in the thyroid tilt on that belt. Technically, that takes us out of a pure belt, but doesn't really matter. These are just colors. Okay. There is a vocal coach out there, and I don't like to go like, talking about the way in which we need to have this like open, smiley mouth. Now, it's not always the case and not always on every belt, but there's more of a trumpet shape. Time, let it shine. That's to allow the tongue to come higher, and more of that mouth shape is going to, so there's a whole thing about the acoustics of the sound, okay? And so when we have that more of that trumpet shape, we're allowing the formants to change, and that affects, so there's always an upstream effect of our sound, like going this way, but there's also a downstream effect of what our mouth is doing will have a knock-on effect to the way the vocal folds are going to be acting. So this da is going to be helping us in more of this belt quality. We don't have to, though, in all circumstances, use this mouth shape. Just watching this as she goes down, though. Okay, so he's going, give me She went low down in the range again. She pulled back off the volume because we don't want, well, firstly, that low in the range, we can't create loads and loads of we can create volume. We can't create as much volume as in the higher register. Higher notes are always going to sound louder than lower notes. Okay, so this particular student that asked me to have a little look at this video, which I really, really love, because we were looking at the way in which a mini squat was helping us as singers to activate our pelvic floor, to then have a knock-on effect of activating all through the front abdominal muscles here. And she was saying that in this particular performance that she saw this happening. So we just want to break that down for you a little bit here. So this could be due to an emotional, but we can see just a little bit of it coming down. She did a better vowel than me. So, all of my dreams are a heartbeat away. And she went down for that note. So when we're doing a little mini squat, even if it's a tiny, tiny one, if you just do that now, you can immediately feel sort of this lower abdominals working. Now, you might not quite have the sensation yet in your pelvic floor, but just like on a side note, pelvic floor exercises are excellent for working on your singing voice, but I don't want you to combine them just yet, okay? That takes a little bit of work with singing teachers and physiotherapists, like one-to-one. But just thinking about that going down to go up, all of my dreams are a heartbeat away. So we're having that moment in order to pull up through those pelvic floor. Now, I just want to make a comment in the next little stop about what she's doing with her feet. There we go. We knew that she was going to go for a really big note. So when we're here, though, at the front on the balls of the feet, that can also help us, which is, one of the great things about wearing heels when we're performing. It can help us to move the weight of our body into the front section of our, making no sense here. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make this make sense. So when we're up on the balls of our feet, immediately, and if you do this, you can feel the activation through the quads, through this front abdominal section. Now, one thing that happens in singers is that they want to bring their shoulders forward. So we need to work actively to keep the sternum high, shoulders back and down. And bringing this weight further forward is going to help you as well with engaging the correct muscles. We never want to be swinging back on our heels when we are singing. She just did a fantastic job of that belt note. I'm like, what's she doing with her feet? Okay, we're up on the D5 there. Destiny! She didn't do that. She did a better E than I just did. That was a massive vowel modification. It's easier for me. So we've gone into a full-on belt there. Destiny! We saw the tongue hollowing out there. That is just giving a little bit of the larynx, a little bit of the tongue, so that the larynx doesn't have to raise so high, so that the sound also doesn't become too bright or brighter than we want it to be. So she went down quite far on that note. That was really, really cool. So when, again, we're engaging those pelvic floor, we're seeing that. So this could be an emotional decision, but what a lot of singers do is we incorporate these movements that really help us in the sound, and we make them mean something in our acting. So this is a really excellent way. You can do that in your own performance, actually, to go down. You can imagine to think about going down like this. You see a lot of singers going like, yeah, and coming down, engaging those lats. Really excellent way to engage the muscles without kind of going like, and becoming stiff. Movement along. There's a bit of a wiggle in my own throat. All of that movement along with the note is going to help. Oh, shit. My goodness me. She's like the original alphabet. I will be free. That's hard. That is hard to create an E vowel on that. I would say that's probably a full belt in there. Free. And then she brings in the vibrato. Holy mackerel, okay? I will. Oh, we're up on the E5 there. Whitney. I will be. Now, I will admit, it is easier to create these E vowels when we are up over that second passaggio. Actually, you know what? Most female voices have about 3, if not 4 passaggi, which are passages in the voice, going from one register into the other. So we have that sort of like major Bermuda Triangle passaggio around the sort of like, it sort of happens between the G4 to the B4. So that's just above middle C. It's sort of like where female voices kind of start to get a bit unhinged before they change registers. There is another one further up. So when she's up there, we'll be free. We're on the C there. Free. It's in that passaggio region where an E becomes quite challenging because we're keeping the E will naturally want to thin the vocal folds. When we talked about that downstream effect of the voice, it'll want to thin the vocal folds and it will want to tighten the throat. So we're needing to keep the throat open, not allow the vocal folds to thin quite as much. And that's why we're getting that free. We're getting that forward movement of the lips so that we're not quite brightening up the sound as much as it wants to happen with an E. So we're going, we'll be free. And then we heard that, yeah. That's when she went in again. The open vowel is going to change the timbre of the sound. This is why you often see singers modifying their vowels into more of an R or an A, because actually, to be honest, it's way easier to sing than an E. But there's so much to learn here from Whitney Houston. I mean, obviously, she was a master of her art. And it's obviously a huge loss to everyone for enjoying their music, but also to her family. And anyway, there's nothing more that I can say about that. She was the most incredible performer, and I'm really happy that we've got all these recordings that we can enjoy her artistry, but also her technicality is just absolutely outstanding. So we saw her lifting her chin up there. You don't have to do that. I actually wouldn't really recommend that to a lot of singers to do. That's up to the individual artist whether they want to do that out of an emotional standpoint, but it's not actually going to be helping the sound in that moment. Okay. Okay. Wow. My goodness me. That was a really long one. Bloody hell. Let's see how much the editor can cut that down. I think I got a little bit carried away to the first video of this of the recording day. They get shorter as I go on. So of course I had to look at Whitney like right first. My goodness me. Have I looked at Whitney before? I think I have. Now on the channel, there is like 1,200 videos or something like that. So it's absolutely insane. So of course, forgive me if I forget one. I'm going to put some Whitney up here because I'm fairly certain that I have looked at her before on the channel. Before, it's literally like just me running the channel. So like, forgive me if I forget which one. I think I did one video of Celine Dion like twice. Oopsies, but I enjoyed it anyway. If you want to learn more about how to improve your vocal technique, this shit is hard, okay? This takes some time to build it up. This is about really getting in and looking at your vocal technique, building it up from where you are today. You need one-to-one lessons. Like if you really want to be able to sing like this, we need to be looking at you on an individual basis. You can sign up for lessons down in the description below. Join my online singing school. I'd love to help you, to coach you through these things. I've got a free Find Your Chest Voice challenge. That's like literally the beginning of finding these chest voice sounds, and I'd really, really love to see you there. We're going to be doing a live chest voice challenge, so check that out in the description below to get your seat. I think I've got to go and have a coffee and a sit down after all. That was absolutely incredible, and I've got to go and do some singing practice. It's just my mind's going in 100 different directions. Happy singing, happy practicing anyway of all of that. Ka kite anō.